Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the WODcast Podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Ifft, coming at you right now from Charlotte, North Carolina. I am not touring. I am on vacation, Christmas vacation with the family at the in-laws, where I recorded this episode. Pretty unique experience. I am doing some shows while I was here. I did a show the other night here in Charlotte, and I've got one more in Concord, which is right outside of Charlotte, on the 23rd of December. I'll put it on my site, I think, if you want to get tickets. Some people have asked me about it. It's pretty good to be back. I'm going to be doing a lot of shows coming up in January, February, March, and my album's coming out the end of February, so big tour starting in March with that. My album's called Sweet Home Alabama. It's going to be available on iTunes and everywhere else. You name it, it'll be there. But I am here doing all the family stuff, and I was lucky enough to. My father-in-law is a former NFL football player, played for the Philadelphia Eagles in the late 70s, early 80s, and his best friend was over, who I had do the podcast with him, and his friend is a guy by the name of Vince Papali. You might know him from the film Invincible, which was based on his life. Mark Wahlberg played him in the movie, and it was a movie about Vince was basically a lifelong football fan who had his dream come true and walked on to the Philadelphia Eagles and tried out, and he was a high school teacher and became a player on the he was the oldest rookie in NFL history who got to play who played for the Philadelphia Eagles. So pretty incredible story, and turned into a movie. I mean, it's a real life Rocky story, and I've known Vince for a while, and it was really nice to talk to him. He's very big into training, so is my father-in-law, and they're very big into nutrition and health. So it was interesting to talk to them, someone from their generation, from their experiences in the NFL and what it was like to train back then, and what the nutrition was like. And so really fun episode for me. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. And we've got some cool stuff going on right now. We've got some stocking stuffers available for you guys. And when I say stocking stuffers, I mean stuff you can put in a stocking. You're going to stuff it full of like Gooder sunglasses. Have you tried Gooder yet? If you haven't, you're crazy. Gooder sunglasses are ridiculous. Brought them with me. Wear them all the time. I love them. They're made of like a rubbery matte material, so they don't slide off when you're working out. They stick to your face really well. They're polarized, and they look cool. They're just like as functional as they get. They're fun, they're fashionable, they're functional, and they're affordable. I was trying to do 4 F's there. So get yourself some of these. They've got some funny looking ones. They've got traditional ones. They're great. If you want 17% off, check out Gooder.com/WODcast. And it's Gooder, GOODR.com/WODcast. Also, another thing you can stuff in your stuffing, you stuff it in there, is the Ritual beverage. And when I'm talking about Ritual Zero Proof, and this is tequila, whiskey, gin, to make some of your best cocktails with zero proof. You're like, well, why would I want to do that? Well, because a lot of people out there can't drink or don't drink, but they do still like alcohol. And they could have medical problems. They could have gone through some kind of rehab or some sort, just quit drinking, whatever it may be. They could be pregnant, and they want to have a drink. Well, guess what? They can have their favorite drink now. They can make that margarita. They can make that whiskey sour. They can make that whatever. And it's delicious, tastes great. And guess what? This is going to hydrate you. You're not going to have the dehydration problem. So your workouts are still going to be just as good. So check them out. They're great. It's a great holiday gift. And if you want to get $5 off your order, go to Ritual Zero Proof. That's Ritual, RITUAL 0 Proof, PROOF.com. And with the promo code WODcast Holiday, you're going to get $5 off. So that's ritualzeroproof.com, and you're going to get $5 off as long as you put in WODcast Holiday. If you want to stuff something else in there, why don't you put a Myopux or a Leopard Claw? Myopux is an electronic muscle stimulator. It's great for you. It stimulates your muscles, and really good for rehabbing. I've got a couple here at my in-laws' house, and I'm going to be using them because I've been working out a little too hard right now. A really good way to flush out any kind of basically expedite the inflammatory process, which is the best way to speed up an injury and rehab yourself. And then Leopard Claw is a great way. It's a multi-tool that you use. You're going to use it to locate any kind of gristle or anything that's going in on your fascia, and you can grind it up and get it out of there. So get yourself a Leopard Claw or Myopux. Another way to get one is to go to our Patreon and donate. You donate $5 a month. That's it, $5 a month, and you can get yourself on the list. And we do a drawing every single week, and somebody gets they get one of these. They get both, and it's worth like $450. So how good is that? You know, you give like $5 and you get something that's worth $450. It's our way of thanking you. Myopux thanks you. Leopard Claw, they've been great supporters of the show. I think every single person that listens to this show should have one by now. You're crazy if you don't. I want to congratulate our winner this week, who is Jonathan Douglas. And thanks for the nice note, Jonathan. You got yourself a Leopard Claw and a Myopux. And I'm just going to get on with this episode then, which is great. It's awesome to have them. How many people out there get a movie made about them? And also, one of the most important people in my life, my father-in-law, Dennis Franks. So that's Vince Papali and Dennis Franks. Enjoy this episode, guys. Remember, you can always write to me at Instagram, at Eddie Ifft. Facebook, I'm at Eddie Ifft, or I'm /Eddie Ifft. YouTube, I'm /Eddie Ifft. We have all the episodes now on the WODcast Podcast page on YouTube. So if you want to go watch that Dave Castro episode or this episode, any episode, they're all up there on YouTube. So check them out. I'm going to stop this intro right now because I'm really angry because I just watched the Bills score on the Steelers. All right. Enjoy this episode because I'm not in a good mood now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this very, very special episode of the WODcast Podcast. We went last week with Dave Castro. This week we've got two guests. One is one of the most important guests in my life. He's the scariest person in my life. He's sucking up already.
Well said, dude.
Well, I was about to. I'm just going to say I'm glad.
Eddie.
I'm glad he's been drinking to do this. I'm glad I've been drinking too because that makes it easier to do this. That is my father-in-law, Dennis Franks, and Diesel, which we call him, which he named himself, has been on the show before. A lot of you listeners know who he is, but our other guest today is I don't know how to introduce him by saying you've probably seen a movie about him. There's not many people in this world that have a major motion picture that is created about their life. You have to do something pretty amazing or have something really fucked up happen to you. Like if you're
meeting this guy right next to me.
If you're like on a boat, you're a boat captain and Somali pirates kidnap you, that's one way to get a movie about you. The
Captain
other way,
Phillips, right? Yeah.
The other way is you become you're like you're the realest thing Philadelphia has to a sports hero because they have Rocky, but Rocky was fake. Like you're the real deal.
Well, that's Eddie. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Rocky is just he's a metaphor for anybody with a dream, and it's a beautiful thing, and that's why people attach to it and related to it. Now, because I came in, my name is Vince, by the way.
I know. I was gonna get to it.
Yeah,
we're rolling. I'm doing a bad job hosting.
Mr. Invincible. That's
right.
right.
Vince.
It never would have happened without the guy next to me. We'll talk about that.
Vince Papali, everybody. And if you've seen the movie Invincible, starring Mark Wahlberg, you know who I'm talking about. So thank you for doing the show.
It's great
I appreciate
to be here.
it. I've always wanted to have you on the show because there's so much of that story, like being part of the Franks family and being marrying into it and knowing the whole story from this side. It's interesting to hear it from your perspective because, they have a whole different story.
We ran the streets together. That's what it was.
You do have a book out, but that's PG. And we'll just keep it at that.
Well, we can get into that, but
we can't. No, we really can't.
So most of the listeners that listen to the show are people that are severely it's almost like dysfunctional how they're into fitness. And these are like workoutaholics. And you guys are athletes. There's a difference, and I always say that. There are athletes that are workoutaholics, and you both kind of seem to have been there and still are in your life a bit. But you guys also are athletes, which the people that listen, no offense, none of you guys are athletes. No, they're just gym rats. These people just work out 24 hours a day.
Nothing wrong with that. That's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing, and I'd put myself more in their category than I would yours. So you played for the Philadelphia Eagles did you play in college at all?
No, I didn't play college football. I was a track guy. I was a track. But let me tell you something, Eddie, because I'm almost half impressed when I was driving in to where we are right now in Cornelius, North Carolina, where Dennis lives. But I'm watching. I didn't realize it was you, and I'm seeing this guy doing sit-ups in the driveway on a beach towel, and then he's flipping over and doing push-ups, and then running up and down the driveway, and it was you. And the reason, and I'm just kidding, saying half impressed. Actually, I was very impressed with the intensity and the way you did it, and also because of that. There's so much where people, they're all looking for this other new avenue, but it's really all about the core, and it's all about cardiovascular, and it's about working your body basically, and the interval training, and it's the kind of training that I was doing 50 years ago, when I was hoping that someday I would be a decathlete actually. So no, I didn't play college football. So it wasn't like Dennis, an All-American Michigan.
Well, it's funny that we talk about CrossFit, and what's happened in CrossFit is, they like to say that the fittest people in the world, by the definition of the guy that owned CrossFit, that started it and created it, that he created this thing to find the fittest people in the world. And the argument used to be that it's a decathlete, and there still is an argument that you take a decathlete because of the so many different modes of athleticism and fitness that have to be used to do that. Now you were wide receiver.
I was a wide receiver, but I didn't play wide receiver much. I was just like Dennis. Dennis was a long snapper, and we were the bomb squatters. We were the special teams guys.
But were you the guy on the end on the kickoffs, going down and flying down the side?
Well, Dennis,
or were you?
Yeah, he definitely was flying down the side.
Go ahead. Tell him what your role was, then. He was a human bowling ball.
Wedge breaker.
He was a wedge breaker.
I was the guy that was assigned to take down two or more men. Now these are 280 to 300 pounders in a wedge that got in front of the guy who ran the ball. My job was to take that down. Vinny's job was to get over him and make the tackle.
Right.
Come around the end. So basically, now you have to understand that the wedge, this is a head-on collision. You have four guys that are going at least 260, 280, and they're just sort of starting from, let's say they're starting from the 8 or 10 yard line after the ball is kicked. Dennis is starting where the ball is kicked, and he's full speed. And I tell you, there's only one center in the world that I've ever seen that as quick as Dennis, and that's Jason Kelsey. He had speed like you can't imagine, and he was running downfield and just would be absolutely maniacal, and like a bonsai.
I'd scream
and he would be screaming like crazy.
Motherfucker.
He was a kamikaze, and just and the collision and then me, like he always called me the pretty boy, and I would just come right around the end. I'd make the tackle, wave to the crowd, hi, how are you? Pound my chest.
I'd run to the wrong sideline.
Your head, you were,
Vinny,
you
come
were,
get me. Say, yo, come in, come on back this way.
You were seeing stars, and he was being the star. I only played high school football, and you guys are the reason I didn't play after high school, because I was a punt returner, a kick returner, and I got hit so hard so many times that I just was like, I can't imagine what this is like at a college level, let alone a pro level. Like it baffles me, because I like to I'm a small guy, but I'm not. I could still, like, there's football players my size, 175 pounds. I can't imagine what it would be like to, like, high school. It hurt so bad. I can't imagine what it's like on a pro level to get hit by somebody that big, that fast, that strong. You couldn't pay me all the money in the world.
Well, Dennis is sort of it's funny because he was talking about running to the wrong sideline, and everybody asked, "What's the biggest hit you ever took?" And it was against the Oakland Raiders, and this guy Charles Phillips, who was their safety, and I was bearing down on their punt returner, and I had him in my sights. He was just like right there, a step or two away, and all of a sudden a Scud missile came and hit me, and he ear-holed me, but an ear-holing is where he hit me with hit the crown of his helmet and the ear-hole of my helmet, and my helmet spun around, and I'm looking out of the ear-hole, it's like a cyclops, and I'm on the ground, and my nickname, you mentioned Rocky, all the guys, the other, not too many people called me one of my teammates. I was called a lot of stuff other than Rocky, but everybody's, hey, Rocky. So the guy, hey Charles, he's, hey Rock, come on man, get up for the count, get up, you're up for the count. And so I wasn't going to let him think I got knocked out on my own field in Veterans Stadium. So I sort of wobble over to the bench, and I'm looking around the bench, and everything's weird. I don't recognize anybody, and they're all in black and white,
That's hilarious.
And then I'm looking over, and I'm saying, "Holy crap!" And I see the green on the other side. I was on the Raiders. I was on the Raiders bench, and I did a Michael Jackson moonwalk to get away from there. I mean, that was one of the hardest hits. But I was more the hit-or than the hit-e. And there's no greater feeling than to be going. And Dennis will tell you full speed and just lighten the guy up.
When you think about the difference between today and when we played, you got smelling salts. When somebody gets hit today, they go in a tent and they, follow fingers and all this other stuff. You got some smelling salts, and it says how many fingers you got up. No matter what you said, they say yes. You are all good.
Because you want to get back out there.
You're already in there.
So let me ask you this, because this is an observation of mine. Like, I played, you guys were 70s into the 80s?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here, let me move this cord so it's not, I'm hearing a little bit of static. Just don't touch the cord with your feet. I remember I had a Tony Dorsett helmet that my dad got. My dad worked with the Pitt football program. I had a Tony Dorsett helmet, and I used to wear it all the time. And this was a 1976 helmet. The pads inside it were not pads. It was like...
It was a suspension helmet.
Yeah, it was kind of like rubber, like hard rubber that was on your head. And then when I started playing football in like the early or late 80s, early 90s, there was some cushioning, but still hurt. Now these helmets are incredibly protective, incredibly comfortable. But like you guys, you played with like a plastic shell with basically hard rubber underneath it.
Here's the best way to describe it. If you were to go on a construction site and put on a construction helmet, and you know how it is, and they just have that little band around that helmet with a crown at the top with some foam rubber at the top, and it would just go across your forehead and the back of your head. They were called suspension helmets. And that's the helmet that I used to wear back then, and I had no padding whatsoever except on my ears, my ear pads, and so it would be funny because you'd be running downfield and you could and the air would come in between in your ear hole,
but Vinny. But we had state-of-the-art helmets, too, compared to what the generation before
us.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, the Rydell, whatever the hell. Yeah, it was all Rydell back then.
Yeah, I remember the Rydell helmets. Yeah, and then you guys right now, you're like late 50s, and
Nice. No,
Yeah, right.
try another
Yeah,
generation
yeah,
on
yeah.
top of that, right?
But let's be honest. Everybody knows about NFL and football and CTE and all that. You both of you have your shit together. Like, you're shining examples of like what happened to you two. How come you're not having all the struggles that the other guys are having?
What's your name again?
Maybe
Maybe we don't,
I
or maybe we're sort of faking it. We could just pull together for this podcast. I think I'm very fortunate. I actually I had more concussions as a pole vaulter than I did, I think, playing football. I don't even know if I had a concussion or maybe one, and that was was minor. But like Dennis said, we didn't have a concussion protocol.
Yeah.
And you would just take smelling salts. You'd take a smelling salt, you put one in each nostril and sniff it, and then they'd stick fingers up and they'd put 5 up and you'd say 3. Yeah, okay, that's good. What day is it? It's Tuesday. Fine. What's your name? Dennis. Okay, you're okay. And then you'd go in. I mean, back then we called it a ding. And we used to there was a certain like pride that we had right then.
Amen.
But now, as here we are, we're parents. You're a grandparent, but I'm parents of 2 kids who are athletes, and my son's a prospective NFL player, and now I'm real concerned about that. Back then, I didn't even think twice about it. I think most of my cognitive. What did I just say? Cognitive. Yeah, but I think that everything is there. I'm going to be 75 in about 6 weeks. But I don't act it. I don't think, and I feel great. And it's just.
Well, I think one of the things that really helped us along is, Eddie, we never stopped training. I mean, we continue to stay active daily. We take supplements, and we enjoy life totally. I mean.
No, I can tell. I'm watching you guys throw down that bourbon right now.
Well, it was fun. We just got done doing a book signing, so.
How many books have we just signed, then?
350.
I watched you guys sign those, and I got to be honest. It showed the difference between you and me, because the work ethic that you guys have, like, you're pro athletes that have an incredible work ethic. The way you sat down and just pushed through that, I would have signed 5 and gone, fuck it. These people, look, they got the book. What more do they want from me? There's no way I can sign
Well, you know what?
this
It's funny
shit.
you said that, because after that first case, I was about ready to say F it, So.
No, you got to push it. All you CrossFitters know how to push it now.
Yeah, I mean, CrossFitters are some of the hardest working people.
Listen, I've worked out with you, Eddie, and you push it. I mean.
No, I was impressed, Ed, when I saw you. You were running up and doing all that stuff. You reminded me of me. That was, and I was, back then it wasn't a CrossFit. It was just, we called it circuit training.
Well, that's the thing. It's just they put a name to something that's existed for
Which
a
is a cool
long,
name.
long time.
Yeah.
And it was good branding. There's a lot of arguments to that like, this guy didn't reinvent the wheel. This guy, Greg Glassman, that created it, he just put together a whole bunch of stuff that was being done and put a brand together. I want to let you guys, like, I don't want my fans or listeners of this show to think that I did a hero workout today. They call these like tougher ones hero workouts, but I didn't do it RX. I was supposed to have a weight vest on, so I didn't do the workout with a weight vest. So I'm still kind of
what a lightweight, right? Well, I was totally impressed anyway, just with your discipline.
It was one of the ones, I like the ones where they have breaks in it. A 2-minute break in between every round. Anything that gives me a break. When it doesn't have a break, I just die. But anytime you let me, I'm so short, fast twitch muscle fiber that if I get a chance to recover, I'm great. But if you don't let me recover, I'm left behind everybody.
Well, it's funny, Eddie. When I came in and I was training with the Eagles, I was coming off training for the decathlon, and I was pretty close. I
Trying
had
to
a
make
score.
the Olympics?
I was trying to get into the Olympic trials, and my score in a non-qualified event would have qualified me, but I couldn't get into a qualified event because of my I didn't, it wasn't my resume, pedigree, whatever. And I got pissed off, started playing football, and I wound up in the NFL in the movie Invincible. So it all worked out okay. But my training program was basically an interval program like what you were doing, and I was doing that prior to when I was coming in, and I started training with the Eagles, and then with Dennis and I had just signed, and Dennis had signed right before me, and we started training together. Dennis worked with me in the weight protocol, and I never really lifted weights before. Everything was just body weights. As a pole vaulter, I was just doing push-up handstands, and I could walk up and back. I could walk my hands back and forth on a basketball court
really
3 or 4 times. Yeah.
You would have crushed CrossFit. That's one of the big events.
Well,
handstand walking.
Yeah. I mean, as a teacher, because I taught, I was a full-time school teacher. One of the things that the students used to like is, because I was training and I was coaching at that time, I would do that. I would walk up and back and forth on the gym floor, and they would be counting to see how many laps I could do on the gym floor before I
So as a
collapsed.
football player, you were on the smaller side, but as a decathlete, you were probably right in the middle. You were like,
Well, I wasn't on the smaller side actually, Eddie, because I was 6'2", 198 pounds as a wide receiver.
you
back
were
then.
big. You were a big wide receiver.
Yeah, on the decathlon side, I don't know.
You're pretty big as a
Jenner
decathlete
was,
too.
he was the man back then, and Bruce Jenner, and I don't know what his height was then. Now with his high heels, he's probably about 6'2", but
Don't go there, man. That's binary, man.
I've met him a few times. I met him. I've never met Caitlin. I met Bruce at a party once, and then I met him on a plane. And when I got on the plane with him, I was sitting next to him, and I said, "Hey, Bruce," I said, "It's Eddie. I met you over at Stuttering John," and he ignored me, wouldn't talk to me the whole flight. And I was like, thought I was gonna, he's one of my heroes growing up.
Yeah,
He's
well,
on
he
the
was
Wheaties
one
box.
of my heroes as well, because he was the man back then, and actually he had a decathlon camp then. But I don't know what my size was compared to other decathletes.
What were your? I've got a whole bunch of questions because I'm obsessed with the decathlon too. What were some of your best events in it?
Well,
pole vault, you say?
Let's see. I ran.
Can you hold up on the microphone higher?
Okay, yeah, a little
no,
bit
no. Hand here, because it's whatever the attachment is, giving us a little static.
Okay,
yeah,
is that
perfect.
good?
Much better.
I don't know. Let's start with the sprints. Well, back then it was all yards, not meters.
Okay.
So my 100-yard dash was 9.7, 440 was 48.5. My long jump was 23 feet. My high jump was 6'2". Pole vault, 15 feet.
That's a good
high
pole
hurdles,
vault.
14.7. Javelin was sucked. I was about 130. Shot put, actually, I did 52. My discus was 145. And then the mile just killed me. I was about 6 minutes in the mile. I hated training for the mile.
Interesting.
Yeah. But but when you put all those together back then,
I can see
right
the
up
scores
there.
because I followed it a little bit. Bruce Jenner's 110 meter high turn time was only about 14.6 or 14.2. He might have got. I know it was either 14.2 or 14.6. You, Dennis, you threw shot put too, didn't you? You were state
That's
champion.
how I knew him. That's another
Right,
great
that
story.
was your
Tell me
thing?
about this, Dennis.
No, I threw shot and discus and track.
Weren't you state champ?
Yeah, working with at Penn State. I'll never forget that. It was the night after prom, the morning after prom. My father drove me up to Happy Valley, and then I got to be competing in the discus. And there was a gentleman by the name of Ron Semkew from Baldwin, Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
A monster. I mean, he just could throw the shot, throw the discus like nobody's business. I was pretty much slow motion at the time, but I was known, to do very quickly across the circle. But, I'll never forget the winning throw was about, 10, 11 feet off the ground into the wind. Mm-hmm. If you throw discus, people fear throwing into the wind because if you don't put it right, with the front end of that discus a little bit up, you can really work into the wind to really make it go. You got to keep it lower. And so it worked out. And yeah, I did win that day. And
I was there. I saw it. Here's the great irony, about the prom, because when I was a senior in high school, and we had the senior prom the night before the district championship.
And you grew up in Philly, right?
In suburban Philadelphia.
What high school?
Interborough High School in Glen Olden, just south of the Philly Airport off I-95. So my senior year, I vaulted in the district finals. I vaulted 12.9. And I never pole vaulted before. I wound up right after that going 14.6, which is right out of high school with the world record. But back then, you'll see.
Let me interrupt for a
16.
second. I have a background in track and field, and I want the listeners to know that pole vaulting, I believe, is one of the most athletic pursuits in the entire world. It takes such coordination, speed, power. everything.
Strength.
Like I know guys, like people that excel in pole vaulting excel in so many other things. And it also takes, you have to be fearless because you're putting your body in completely upside down.
Really?
Yeah, that's why you're
really?
so strange, dude.
Well, we didn't have video. We had Polaroid cameras back then.
Yeah.
You didn't have instantaneous video. You didn't have videotape back then. We're talking 1968. But here's the irony. So anyway, I wound up winning the district championship, and I go to Penn State, and I wind up placing, and I got a medal. So then I go back to my alma mater, and I'm coaching and teaching. And at my alma mater, and I coach this kid who's a great javelin thrower, and he winds up in the States. So I'm up there, and it's right outside of Beaver Stadium, where Penn State plays football, and I'm watching my kid throw the javelin. He did very well, and I'm looking at the discus, and now understanding, I'm training for the decathlon at that time, and I'm looking at this guy, and it's Dennis, and I couldn't believe his speed and his footwork across that circle, the way he did that spin. As I find out, and how he got that was he got it from his mother, and he'll tell you about his
Right.
mother.
I know, but I want the people listening to hear this.
Which is the greatest story in the world. So I'm watching this guy next to me, my best friend and the godfather of my children, man I love like a brother. And I'm watching him win the state championship and saying, I've never seen anything like it with his speed and agility in the circle, just in this little circle that's 6 feet in 6 feet in diameter. And this guy's, and now, we become teammates and best friends, roommates, and the whole thing. But the speed and his agility, and this guy can dance. So tell us a little bit about your mom, Dan.
Well, hey, listen, I grew up on ice skates, and it wasn't hockey skates. It was figure skates. I was a
Right,
rink
with the little
rat.
teeth, the little teeth in the front.
My mom,
I've seen the photos.
My mom was the national champion of Germany. She was an amazing athlete. She was a champion high jumper. She won nationals in the butterfly swim. She was badass, and I'll never forget her. She
Inga.
was Ingeborg, and I'll never forget her because she would help me do my chores so that I could go do sports. But she would take my brother and I to the ice skating ring because when she came over to the United States from Germany, she continued to teach.
I have a college friend who is my sister's sorority, who said to me one time she saw you on one of my pages or something. She said, "Is he your father-in-law?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "His mother taught me how to figure skate."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people laugh when I tell them. I said, I have my silver dances. We used to take all the girls through all their ice skating dances.
So when
My
you were a
brother and I.
figure skater,
Yeah.
did you ever do any competitions?
Other than dance, ice dancing, no. But I could do the spins and jumps. I could do that. But
Did you have one of those outfits?
no.
I would love.
Why
if
are you laughing, Vince, so hard
If
over
you
here?
had one of those outfits, I would pay for a photo
With
of
sequins.
that.
Yeah. I was husky growing up, and a lot of people would say, they would call me the dancing bear when I would be out on the ice rink. Not like badass would be dancing bear. He's a dancing
Funny, they'd probably
bear.
call you that in a gay bar now.
But I'm going to tell you what, it helped me tremendously with my footwork.
Yeah,
It
well,
was good.
I remember when the Steelers were so good in the 70s, Lynn Swann, who was a great wide receiver, took ballet classes, and everyone gave him, he's doing ballet. And the thing was, as great athletes do, they try to expand their, whatever they have in their quiver of different talents. And I know the great athletes I've had on the show, especially when it comes to strength and conditioning, try everything. And if it's going to help them, they add it. And when people were going, Lynn Swann, and I was like, you know what? Mm-hmm. Whatever it does, if it's going to make him more graceful and be able to jump higher and leap and be able to get around people.
Body control.
I
mean, without a doubt.
Proprioception.
Exactly.
And balance and the whole deal. Yeah, absolutely. And now you see the guys, and there's so many different protocols in their training program, from the fitness side and also the stretching side. And I just the other day I was in Naples, Florida, and I got torn apart by the chiropractor for the Pittsburgh Steelers, present Pittsburgh Steelers, and he put me through a stretching protocol that he does with the players before they go out on the field. And he says after it's done, he said it's like walking on a cloud. It's one of the greatest things in the world. There's so many different things that they're doing right now, But Eddie, basically what it comes down to, and what you're talking about with CrossFit and everything else, it's just really about the fundamentals, and it's about the understanding of the body, and taking it to the limits, and being smart about what you're doing, And you don't need to have a whole bunch of equipment. You use your own body as your resistance, and you can do anything you want to do with cardiovascular. You can go to all these machines, and you can go with a Peloton. But you know what? I'm looking at these steps right here, and you can get the same out of just doing an interval program, doing steps on here. You get out of the Peloton.
Yep. But you don't get that hot chick that takes you through the. Every one of my friends on Peloton right now, I have a group thread with my high school friends, and they're all doing Peloton, and they're like, "Hey, have you rode with Emily yet? Oh my God!" And they'll send pictures of her, and they're like, "You got to ride. It's great to watch Emily. She's in front of you and blah blah." Blah.
It's amazing what you can do to incentivize people.
Well, you were talking right from the beginning. You were talking about marketing and branding.
Yeah.
And that's basically what that's all about, and it's a beautiful thing. And look what they've done. And now here we are. We're stuck. I have a house down in Jupiter, Florida. I'm heading. I stopped here with Dennis to sign 330 of our books, but and then I'm heading up to the suburban Philadelphia, New Jersey area where everything's shut down. Gyms are shut down. And so what do? So now you see the creativity that people are coming up with for people that are going to be working out in their homes. And everybody now they're doing their workouts. You see them with their phones, and they got their AirPods on, and they're working out to their AirPods. And it's a creativity that people are doing right now in order to take people to another level. And, you look at the pluses and minuses, and this is the plus. That people are doing that and taking such.
I don't want to get political with this, but the ironic part of this is that they're shutting down gyms when this is a disease of unhealthiness. Like, it's affecting people that are unhealthy, and people that are having the most trouble with it have comorbidities. They're obese. They unhealthy diets, poor immune systems, and it's like, we've got a cure over here. It's called a gym. You go to the gym, where they're going to teach you fitness, where they're going to feed you well, where they're going to teach you nutrition, where they're going to do all these things, and we're going to shut those down. We're going to keep people out of those.
That is the craziest thing, Eddie, because
it depends on the state.
Yeah.
Now in Florida, so in Florida, you talk. I don't want to go politics either, but in Florida, everything is a whole different ballgame. Yeah. But when you get up to where I live in New Jersey, but I'm outside of Philly, same thing. Everything's shut down. So it's. But the thing is that you're right. It's about being fit and having a good, healthy lifestyle. And Dennis is in fitness and nutrition because of what he does with Market America. Me and we're my wife Janet, my wife Janet, who in the movie Invincible, she's portrayed as a Giants fan. In reality, she and Kathy Reed were teammates on that USA gymnastics team back in the day. The Olympic team back then. Mm-hmm. And to this day, people are amazed when she does a blood test. Everything is so perfectly normal. They say, "What are you taking? What are you doing?" She says, "No, I'm exercising, and I take basically." She takes all the vitamins that Dennis is with Market America, and that's our protocol. That's our regimen.
There are nearly 5,000 doctors that work under our brand called Nutrimetrics, Eddie. And the interesting thing is we're finding that exercise is part of the cure for almost anything that people have. The other part of it is a healthy immune system, and the reishi mushroom has been really exceptional. The beta-glucans that come from the reishi mushrooms, along with zinc and C and vitamin D, but a good balanced diet with a good multi and some specific nutrients, plus exercise. I'm going to tell you what makes you your immune system really working well.
Well, I've studied colds and viruses for so long because I hate them. I don't ever want one, and when I get one, I want to get rid of it as quickly as possible. So I've read all the clinical studies on everything, and there are so many things like zinc is shown clinically to reduce the length of a cold. There's cold medicines are a waste of time and billions of dollars spent on that whole entire industry of cold medicine. And all it does is suppress your cold and make it last longer. There's just so many things you can do to boost your immune system, especially now with COVID. But there is a small percentage of people right now that have such robust immune systems that they actually have like an adverse reaction to it because their body actually. So funny, I had Dr. Drew on the show, and I was asking him, I was like, when he was talking about it, I said, so couldn't this happen that like if your immune system's so good, it'll kind of mess you up because it's going to overreact, which is going to flood your lungs, and and he was like, I don't know. And then sure enough, the information's come out that there are a few people that their immune systems are almost too good, that they overreact. And so it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Right. But the one thing is the vitamin D. If you're not doing vitamin D or getting out in the sun, you're insane.
Yeah, and you know what else has been really deficient in most people is magnesium. And magnesium in over 300 different body functions.
That's funny. That's funny to say that because I just got an IV when I was in Naples the other day. It was magnesium and it was vitamin D, and there were some other nutrients in there for
probably
us that would combat
potassium,
what's going on. You know, with another product called Organocell, and that's another story for something I'm going to represent. But it you know, and it's about that, and it's about basically what it is. It's preventative maintenance, you know, and getting your immune system to the point where you can fight off just about anything. The key, what they told me, and you know, here I am. I'm 20. I'm 74 today. I've got a 24-year-old and a 26-year-old, for crying out loud. And you know, everybody thinks they're my grandchildren. But you know, because of that, you know, you never met the Italians, thing. You know what I'm saying? So, but
I knew him when. You know?
Yeah. But you know, but one of the things they said, you know, Vin, you're doing all this at night. He said, but you really need to work. He said, what kind of a workout are you doing? I said, I'm doing bands and this and this. He said, well, you got to start working on your muscle mass, even now at your age. He said, start lifting. You know, but my shoulders are so up because of that's what ended my career. I blew out both shoulders. I can't do a lot of weightlifting.
Torn rotators, both of them?
You know, separation, dislocation, the whole deal. And it just age degeneration. I have 2 new knees. They told me I'd never run again, but I'm running. And but the thing is
so you have 2 new
muscle
knees,
mass.
and he's got 2 new hips.
Right.
Yeah, 16 years for these hips.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I got 5 and 3.
Oh, you didn't get them both done at the
No,
same time.
my God, I'm not a masochist, for crying out loud.
Wasn't that bad though, was it?
No, it wasn't bad. I mean, I was back out and running. I'm a cancer survivor. I've 20 years colon cancer. So, you know, you don't think I worry about, you know,
So you've had a lot of fingers up your butt.
I guess
you could say
Yeah,
that.
I've I got a story, but that's for another time too. My check when I went to, my dad sent me to this doctor, or his friend sent me to a doctor who I swear I don't think he was a doctor. This guy's like, yeah, but I got to the office. I said, I'm having these stomach issues. He said, just lay down on the table. He put a glove on, started squirting KY. I went, whoa, 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 whoa. And he looked at me and goes, don't worry, I won't tell your friends.
Oh, jeez.
And he did it. And then he goes, yeah, you're good. And I went, how do you know? Like, you just, you know. And
I guess if they poke around enough, Eddie, they're going to know.
I was like, people are like, oh, you got to get tested. I'm like, not anymore. Not after that experience. But
well, there's nothing better than getting a nap and a colonoscopy, and I'll just sort of leave it at that.
One of our neighbors just went to get his the other day, and he was like, I got to go in. He goes, it's not bad. They put you out for it and blah, blah, blah.
Eddie, tell me a little bit more. Is the CrossFit Nation growing? Where are you? Are you stagnating? Are you regressing? Where are you?
It's a very weird time because the CEO was removed. The creator CEO, because of cancel culture, was removed from his position and was forced to sell the company. He sold it for nobody knows, undisclosed amount. I'd guess around $200 million to another guy. There's a new CEO, seems like a really smart guy, running the company. It's when it comes to like the competition end of it, it's booming. It's and it's growing all over the world. It's I think CrossFit as like I regret not knowing about it when I was running track. If I had done what I do now, then I would have been 1,000 times better at what I do. Mm-hmm. And it's also helping me with longevity. Like you say, I do squats, I do shoulder press, I do all these things. But I also work on my mobility a ton. I work on, my stretching, my mobility, my cardiovascular. I'm worried about my anaerobic, my
stretching
aerobic.
Is so very important.
So
Flexibility.
important.
What Janet will tell you.
Tell him that. I've been trying. He needs to stretch.
Yeah.
See that? Yeah is not right. He needs to stretch more than anyone I know.
I do.
In the world.
I started, and it's doing a lot better for me.
Yeah.
I am stretching more, but the reason he works out so much, I know the insight. He married a young woman. Yeah, he's got to stay fit to keep up with the needs that are going on.
Well,
I understand it. Why do I
that's
know?
true.
I am your daddy. I am.
There is something to that. There is. I one time was in a gym, and a guy said to me, and I don't know if the guy listens to the show. He owned a gym, and I'm always on the road in a different town, and I'm not very good at CrossFit. I'm an average at best, but I beat this guy, and he owned the gym, and I beat him one day, and he was yelling over at me, "Oh, you're not doing the full rep." They say no rep, and they kept no repping me through the whole thing. That's not a rep. And I was like, dude, I'm not competing against you. I'm just here to get a workout. And he was mad that I was way ahead of him. And so the next day he programmed the workout knowing that I was coming in, knowing I'm probably not good at snatching, which is a very hard Olympic lift. And I'm just not very good at it. But he goes, and obviously he trains at it all the time, so he put it into the workout so he could crush me. And I walk in and he said, "How's your snatch?" And I said, "I don't do it." And he goes, "You don't snatch?" And he said, You don't do it?" And I said, "Why not?" Or he goes, "Why not?" And I said, "Never got me laid, and it never made me money." And I said, so I'm not going to do that risky maneuver and work at it. And that's pretty much how I look at working out. It's like, I've got young kids that are going to want to ski with me when they're 20 years old, and I'm going to have to be in shape and be able to keep up with them. They're gonna want to mountain bike. They're gonna want to hike. They're gonna want to.
I need to say this story.
Just look at me, man.
As the father-in-law and coming to your house and working out with you, I will never forget this day. I'm doing push-ups with you, and you look at me and said, "You're not doing them right." "What do you mean I'm not I've been doing push-ups for 30 years before you." I said, "You said, well, you got to go all the way down. You got to touch your nose to the
full
butt."
range of motion.
Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot tell you Eddie was trying to take full advantage of his father-in-law.
Well, you know what, though? I do say that to people all the time. You say to the average 18-year-old kid, How many push-ups can you? I can do 100. I go, "Really? You can do 100? And I'll go, "I'll bet you $1,000 you can't do 100 push." "Oh yeah, I can." And I go, "Okay, but I want every single push-up. I want your chest to touch the deck and your arms fully extended at the top of your push-up." And all of a sudden, that kid can't do 40 push-ups. Like they come down to 30 push-ups, and so it's a real difference. I mean, that's one of the things that CrossFit kind of did to the whole world of fitness, where they started instituting this, hey, let's go full range of motion. Let's go by the book. Let's do, you're doing your pull-ups. Let's get all the way to extension.
I want to say one thing though, Vince. CrossFit is awesome, but you got to be able to take CrossFit onto the field.
There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that.
If you're going to be a great CrossFitter, how are you going to apply it?
And I say that, I claim that on this show a lot. There's a lot of guys that CrossFit to CrossFit, and it has become a sport. And they are making lots of money, a very few of them, and it's very competitive. There's more people that compete in CrossFit than probably play football now. They do a thing called the CrossFit Open every year where people sign up, pay $20 to all compete against each other. There's 5 different workouts that they all do. And, 40, 50,000 people sign up for this thing to compete in this. Like or more than that. For 300,000. It's like 300,000 people sign up, pay $20 to compete in this dumb thing. And then it goes on to the regionals and then the finals, and that's where the pros win, and these. But I always say I CrossFit so that I can mountain bike and surf and ski and do all these other things. So I do it so that I can do other things. The people that just CrossFit to CrossFit, no offense, I know you're listening, it's a little weird.
Well, let me ask you a simple question. Is CrossFit, is it like a sport? Is it a competition? To me, why can't working out just be fun?
Well, there are 2 aspects to it.
I do. Mark Wahlberg's got a program called F45. And in Jupiter, Florida, and
so F45 was very derivative of CrossFit.
I go there. I'm the oldest guy there.
You go to F45? That's awesome.
I do F45 twice a week. I love it because I just love I love the energy. I like the people.
It's great, yeah.
And it's a great workout. And I can't compete with these kids there. But you know what? I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because I'm out there having a good time. I'm with a bunch of hard bodies. I feel like I'm sweating my ass off. And after it's all over, I did the best I could do and I had fun. And I'm so freaking tired. In business, I speak for a living. I've got to go against the Rudies of the world and everybody else of the world. I don't need to compete when I work out. To get something out of it.
So you're right, and 99% of the CrossFit community is the same as you.
So there is
a tip of the spear that are these guys that go and compete and do it 3 times a day, literally 3 times a day.
3 times a day.
So they work out 3 times a day.
How can your body sustain that?
Well, so that's what they kind of proved, which is amazing, is that they took the tip of the spear, the best guys in the world, and they've just taken them to a level from where they started. I started this 10 years ago. I think it's been existing for about 15, 16, 17 years, maybe longer. I could be wrong. I don't know the exact dates. Someone nerd is going to yell at me and tell me I'm completely wrong. But these guys, from what they went from the first years of this to what they're doing now, we'd all be going, like, if I showed you what they're doing, you would go, this isn't possible. Human beings are not capable of this. And I always thought, you're just going to ruin these humans. They're going to pay for this.
Recover?
But what has happened is they've proven the potential for the human species. Like, you go, they did an event this year. It was great. During the CrossFit Games, these guys had a 5K run, this mountain run through this. It was just one of the many competitions. They ran it, the race, they got to the finish line, and the race director, who was on the show last week, said, as they crossed the finish line, he looked at them and he goes, now run back. So they thought they pushed it to the finish line to win the race. And he said, the finish line's at the other end. Oh. And just in their head, all of a sudden you've expended all your energy and you have to go again. And it was a great, great event. And they do things like that. I mean, they just really push to find out the potential of human. And
human potential is something. I know that we both feel very strongly.
Well, Coach Ramil had a great saying: the greatest waste of mankind is the waste.
For me, I'm sorry.
The greatest waste of mankind.
Maybe it's yours, Diesel. Hold up high. Yeah, it might be.
The greatest waste of mankind is the waste of human potential.
It's yours. Switch with me. Maybe it's. Sorry, it's just the mic. This mic is
Maybe
being.
it's all the energy coming. This all positive energy. This invincible energy. Anyway, Ramil said the greatest waste of man is a waste of potential, and that potential is a coach killer. And Dennis, we talk about that. Look, you're only as pretty as you feel. You do the best you can do. Well, the way I look at it, you can be competitive as if you want. You compete against yourself, but be smart. And just get good out and get fit.
What were you guys doing? What were you guys doing back in those days? What would a typical week be like?
Oh, God.
When you were playing in the pros?
Oh shit, man, we were animals.
Well, first of all, camp. Going to camp before the season started was 3 a days.
3
practices a day.
2.5, 3 hours, and with full pads, thud, tempo. in 90-degree weather, humidity.
Where was Philly's practice camp?
Widener College.
Widener College, then Westchester.
Isn't that in Delaware or Westchester County?
Well, Delaware County.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just south of Philadelphia.
That's that that's a law
Right in
school,
Chester,
Widener.
Chester, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Okay.
And then how about we used to do a lot of conditioning with 10-110s. Remember, this is a great story. Vince helped me learn how to run, and I helped him work on his lifting and be stronger. And the beauty of
And you were playing at what, 200 and...
Well, I came out of college at 250, and I came out of the pros around 285.
Wow.
From Detroit.
Sucker was sweating all the time. He was disgusting.
I would eat
God.
with a towel. I just had to. I had to work to keep the shit up.
Okay, so 3-a-days. You're doing 3
days, yeah.
But our off season, see, the whole thing was the off season protocol. And Dennis and I, every year, inside out, always got the awards for being the ones that worked our hardest. We were always there. We never missed a practice.
Conditioned.
We were the first ones there at 9 o'clock in the morning when that locker room opened up in the off season. This is way before. There were no OTAs. There were no organized practices. It was just guys showing up and working out.
Did you guys even have a players union back then?
Yeah,
Sorta,
we had a
yeah,
player.
but it
Yeah,
wasn't,
we
you know,
had. It
something
was just
like
the
it was
beginning
now.
of it.
But there was like, they couldn't say, hey, they can't come in now. It was just...
Right. It
Yeah.
was pretty good. They encouraged us to come in.
Yeah, and so we came in and we worked our ass off. And we had a guy, Gus Hoffling, who was a kung fu guy, and he trained some great athletes like Steve Carlton, Mike Schmidt, Roman Gabriel, and he took Dennis and I under our wing. And he stretched us out and taught us a little bit about hand-to-hand combat and stuff like that out on the field, which was really great for
Right.
this is way back. We're talking 1976.
Wow.
Now guys like my son Vinny, he trains down in Boca Raton and at XPE, where of the 30 guys that they choose to train there, 28 wind up playing in the pros. And one of their training protocols is boxing.
What's the name of the gym?
XPE.
And where is it?
It's in Boca.
Okay. I went to one of those kind of gyms in Tampa where they were training a lot of guys that they get the boxing ring, and they're jumping hurdles, they're doing everything, and they're making like elite.
Yeah, it's pretty intense training. But no, now that's all part of the protocol. This is now, but back then we were doing that sort of stuff then. And
was this strength the kind of coach? Was he the team coach, or was he your own?
Well,
you guys pulled him.
He was a strength and conditioning coach, but he was just a nutball.
We had the cardiovascular, we had the strength. We had that. Now again, Vince and I were the guys they were always trying to replace. We weren't the first
Replaceable
round,
parts.
right?
Yeah.
We weren't.
So you're
the
fighting
first
for your job.
rounders or the second rounders. We were the guys. He was too old. I was too small. So we constantly had to be ahead of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, constantly.
And so you would do 3-a-days during
Camp.
but you were training in the summer before camp.
Well, the summer, the winter, and see, February 1st was when we were first allowed to come in and train, and Dennis and I would be the one guys there every year on February 1st. That's when they opened up. We would start a training program. Me being a track guy, being a decathlon, I started every workout with a 2 or 3 mile run through the streets of Philadelphia, a la
I did not.
R-O-C-K-Y. Rocky. So I was running the art museum steps. I was doing all that stuff like they did in the movie Rocky. And so that was always part of my protocol. Look, Eddie, I'm not going to be an asshole and say I was like this, that, and the other thing. But it was nothing for me to run 20, 110-yard dashes in 13 seconds and then they would test our pulse.
Right.
And then once our pulse got down to 120, we would go back and we'd run another one. Or I'd do 40-40s. It was because
40-40s.
40-40s. It was nothing.
Wow.
That was the kind of workout because I had created the base. And don't forget, I was a decathlete. So I had already had that stamina and that
Right.
take that. But what it was is we had to be able to sustain that and take it onto the field. And then in training camp, it was insane. And and the things that they asked us to do in training camp with me, we were running all the time. And
How much did they have you in the weight room then?
No rate, with just a little bit at the end.
Minimal.
Really?
Minimal.
Yeah, minimal.
You had to get all of your weight training prior to the season.
and we had a
and then
Nautilus
you
machines.
maintain.
Nautilus was really big back
So there was no free weights.
Minimal.
Well, they're minimal,
Yeah.
but they'd say go in and you got to do a few things. But look, for me, I wasn't into weights. Me, it was all about speed and natural, natural.
But weren't some of the linemen like
yeah,
big
we had the
weightlifters?
Olympic bars,
Yeah.
and we did the squats and the bench presses and the cleans. The cleans were really important to us as offensive linemen, and the
Yeah.
bench press. But that whole thing that Vince was talking about with the kung fu and the boxing, that's critical for an offensive lineman to keep
Right.
the hands off.
Right.
The defensive linemen are trying to get their hands on you.
Yeah.
So it was critical, especially for a guy that's undersized. You have to be quick with your hands as well as your power-producing angles. So early on, that was something that we had to work on.
It's funny. I think the NFL kind of went through, and you tell me if I'm wrong, went through this thing where there were guys that were like, it was all about speed way back. Then they got big, and it was all about strength and power, and and then speed came back in, where it's now I feel like speed is the most important thing of all. Like even as a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman, they're looking for fast guys. I mean, the big guys, they want them.
You know what? It is interesting because the wide receivers, if you look at Kansas City, you're seeing some Tyreek Hill. I mean, speed.
Yeah.
I mean, Denver now has comparable speed. Everybody's recruiting speed. But at the same time, you're seeing size maintain. The worst thing in a professional athlete's life is when you're behind by a score and the other team is able to take their big guys and drive down the field with size. It doesn't matter how quick you are when it comes down to getting 3 yards and 4 yards.
Because they just wear you down.
You just consume them. Yeah, you wear
And
them down,
they
and
take
too much
the clock.
mass.
Yeah.
It's too much mass.
Yeah.
Well, and the training programs for these guys now changed so much. It's not so much the weight training. It's all the different kinds of machines and the protocols that they have. It's a whole different ballgame now.
Yeah.
From when we were playing, and then they changed the rules, and what an offensive lineman can get away with now. There's no way. You wouldn't even think about it. You couldn't even back then when Dennis was there. You couldn't extend your arms.
Really?
Yeah, no. you had a block, but basically you had a block like with your fist,
chest and head.
Up, yeah, and and like having wings. Now you can extend your arms. You can push a guy down. Back in our day,
so it's hard to compare the sport.
Exactly.
Because my next question was going to be, which is kind of moot now, was in all sports there's progression. Like, it's hard to say, could this guy play today, or, has the sport just progressed so much? But I was going to say, do you think there are any guys from back in your day that you could insert them right now and they would still be top players right now playing in the NFL?
Dennis Franks and Vince Papale.
You go, boy. All right. Well, you know what? We'd like to...
Wilbert Montgomery.
Yeah.
Jaws was an animal. He was great. On the offensive lineman, who was Guy Morris was phenomenal.
Right. Jerry Sizemore was strong.
These guys were great.
I mean, Walter Payton. I mean, O.J. Simpson.
You think you could put them in now?
Oh my goodness, yes.
And Herman Edwards. The Miracle on Meadowlands guy. He coached out Arizona. Herm could have fit right in right now. We had a lot of guys that were. They could fit right in. They were just such great athletes.
It's funny you talked about the calisthenics and the body stuff and everything. I used to read about, when I was a kid, about Herschel Walker's workouts. Yeah. And apparently his diet was the worst diet in the world. He ate junk food all the time and sugar and candy and Coca-Cola. But the guy did like prison workouts. Like, he did thousands and thousands of push-ups every day. Push-ups and sit-ups and whatever it was, but there were no weights, like never ever.
But that's basically what it was for me back when I was training in high school for the decathlon, and at this particular point now they're telling me that I got to do it to sustain my life. So we'll see.
But you know what? Every athlete has their own style. You got to find what works for you on that. And the one thing that I've learned over the years is that you can't put a round peg in a square hole. And if you take somebody that's not responding to something, you've got to be willing to try something else. And so, in professional athletes or in CrossFit or anything, you got to just find what works for you. What can motivate you to get you going on a daily basis? So,
Well, most important question for two guys that played in Philly, Pats or Genos?
Both. You go to one, you go to the next. It's so much fun down there. It's just the energy. You want a real cheesesteak in Philly? Go to Jim's.
That's me. I'm so glad
Jim's is good.
when people say that. I'm like, that is by far the best one.
But you got to do Pats and Genos because it's an experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
tradition.
Like, yeah, you have to do it.
Which one's your picture up at?
Geno's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Geno's, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you go for roast pork, Tony Luke.
Tony Luke.
Tony Luke.
I had
Tony Luke in the movies is a guy with a green cape.
Oh, Tony Luke's in it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He's the guy, the green cape gets knocked on his butt. Yeah, I'm in the best shape of my life. He's drinking a beer. High school football.
I don't want to ruin the film because I have a feeling like a lot of people have seen the film, but a lot of people that listen to the show haven't and will now go see the film. So I don't want to spoil it and ask you questions about the film because I do have questions about it, but I don't want to ruin it for people that haven't seen it.
Let's just say it's not a documentary.
Yeah.
That's what Dick Vermeil said. Now they got it. They got 90%. It was on Dennis. He was such a major part of it, and it was really true that when he grabbed me, I was going to get my ass whipped. He says, "You got to read your knuckles, white knuckle."
I tell that to people all
That's
the time,
a
and
true
I
story.
say, I said, "Oh yeah, my father-in-law played in the NFL," and they go, "Oh yeah." I said, "Did you see the movie Invincible?" I said, "Vince is his best friend," and I said, "He's in it. He's the one." And they go, "Who is he?" I go, "The Knuckle." Oh, the Knuckles! Everybody always knows the Knuckles.
Yeah, they're sitting there reading the book. Now, in the beginning, it's funny because Dennis wasn't my roommate in training camp. He became my roommate when we started traveling.
Did he
When we
pick
were
on
the
you
road.
like that? Did he?
But in training camp, the first year in training camp, it was a guy by the name of Larry Marshall, and he was a Philly guy. He was a punt returner. That was basically what it was. He was a punt returner, and Larry would read all these books, and I'd walk in there, and he's reading these really, very intellectual, academic books, and I'm thinking, oh man, what eggnog I got for egghead I have for a roommate. But
you got party guy.
Yeah. And the thing though in training camp was we had no air conditioning, right? But Coach Vermeil allowed us to. Dennis would always have his guitar. And Coach, because his meetings went so late and curfew was 11 o'clock, his meetings would go till 10:30. So he allowed us to have beer and wine in our rooms. So after the meetings, we would just pop a couple beers in our rooms, and Dennis would start playing his guitar, and all the guys come walking in, and we would have a little bit of a party before they shut it down. Then they wake us up the next morning with a fire alarm, and then Rosie would be sitting out there watching everybody go to the bathroom. I mean, it was wild training camp.
I was just going to ask.
Remember that then?
It's great. They put extra lipstick on in the
all
morning.
the cleaning ladies, watching the guys coming out at 6 o'clock in the morning with a fire alarm. That's how they woke us up for camp. Jesus Christ.
So, but back then, you didn't have the knowledge you have now about nutrition and stuff. What were you guys? Were you just trying to eat as much meat and
Hoagies,
potato?
man.
Yeah.
Hoagies at
and
night,
cheesesteaks.
beer.
We would go to Dennis and I would go to this place. This little.
The corner. What was that?
It was a trailer.
Wawa?
It was a trailer, cheesesteak trailer.
Yeah.
And we had this woman Rosie. She was a sweetheart, and we would go there every morning, and we would have our breakfast there, and she would cook us up this really nasty, with fried onions,
fried bologna, bologna, egg and onion.
That's what you would eat before practice.
Yeah.
on our way into
Oh,
the
it's
stadium.
great for
Yeah,
a
it was great.
hangover.
So I mean, this was like pretty much the whole.
When we got to training camp, you had your training meal. But then, when you're going, you're just going for your practices, or even during the season, they didn't have breakfasts for us like it is now. This is so all protocoled,
Yeah.
and everything is all set up for them. Back then, we would just stop there at the trailer right around the corner from the stadium, and that was our.
I remember my high school football team at halftime when we'd go in the gym to have our talk with the coach. We would sit down and they would hand each of us a Coca-Cola. That was our halftime
There you
drink.
go, Sugar
They go,
Spike,
yeah,
and the Snickers. Matter of fact, that's when I had about 100 miles to go on my drive this morning from Jupiter. that I got up at 4:34. Anyway, that's the last thing I did. I said I need that sugar boost, and Coca-Cola,
absolutely.
Coca and Snickers, nothing better than that.
All right, so I know Dennis did this. Were you as much work hard, play hard as he was?
God. You kidding me? Yeah, matter of fact, Coach just pulled me in one time. He says, "Hey, you know what? I understand there's not a bar in Philadelphia that doesn't have a seat in your name in it." So, hey, listen, I was a free agent. I was a single guy. I had a good time. I mean, the heck, 30 years old, and it was wild.
Yeah,
it was great. There was no social media, no nothing, and people, Dennis and I, we just had a good time.
The one thing we believed is that why would you bring a ham sandwich to a banquet?
So why not? We had fun, and you played hard. Listen, I mean, they immortalized all the guys from the Oakland Raiders back in the day with Lyle Alzado and all those guys, and it was just fun.
Yeah.
And then, but you know what? We worked hard, we played hard, and then. Come game day, and a couple 3 days before game day.
Well, those are the good old days, like you said. No social media. I remember the first time. I forget who it was that got in trouble, and my dad said, "It's over." He said, "The camera's on these phones, and the record." He said, "It's over. The fun's over for everybody."
Eddie, you were so right. Vince and I used to come down from the hotel in his Datsun 280Z with the T-tops off, smoking a cigarette down South Philly with our baseball caps on. We'd get all dizzy and stuff. We'd get fired up. We'd run around the damn stadium. We'd stop and play with the kids out front of the stadium and go in and play the game.
Yeah,
but that's my argument. I've always said is you work hard to achieve these things so that you can get you can reap the benefits of it and the fun of it and the fame and the fortune and and when they try to strip that away from you, it's like, well, what are you going to work hard for? Why do you want to put yourself through this to just have criticism and have all the bad parts of it? Don't take away the fun parts of it. That's But
well, it's a different ballgame.
It really is.
So it was. You can't even compare it to today, with all the the contracts and all that's going on with the players' contracts, and the social media, and everybody's now politics have become part of the game, and now and that has seeped into the game, so people can't even watch a darn game without somebody making a political statement. It just is not the way it used to be when we were playing. It was pure. And it was fun, and nobody enjoyed it more than Dennis and I. And I'm so grateful to say I play. I don't know if I could play at this particular time. I'd have a real issue with guys in the locker room.
Yeah, you did really play during the golden age of it.
Yeah, we did. A guy might want to take a stand this way or that way. That's not what the locker rooms are all about. Locker rooms where you all come together as one team. And I'm looking at this wall right now. And everybody in that wall they're all the same.
And you guys, it didn't seem to be for the money.
No. No.
Money.
As long as we had hoagie and beer money, we were all right.
Yeah, we were fine. I mean, I signed for 21 when I came in '76.
How much?
21,000.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, I'm glad you did this show. And I'm glad you guys, I'm so glad to meet you and get to know you. And Diesel, I'm
Always
sorry for everything I've ever done. I apologize.
We'll talk about it.
I apologize for marrying your daughter.
It's all good.
No, you guys, this is great.
Thanks,
It's
good
been
luck to you, man. One of the greatest comedians out there.
No,
Eddie Ifft, man, you got to listen to this guy.
Love your new material too.
New album's going to be coming out last week in February. Yeah, thank you guys, and thanks for listening to the show. You guys want to check these guys out. They've got a book called The Last Laugh. It's available on Amazon. It's available, hopefully you can get a signed one. I saw them sign them, so it's not some fake machine.
No, they can get a signed one if they come to our websites.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the websites?
VincePapali.com and DennisFranks.com.
VincePapali.com, DennisFranks.com. Make sure you go see Invincible. If you've never seen the film, it's a great, great film. And it's funny, I saw it before I even met So I found it was an awesome film. It's one of those. It's the real Rocky. So watch the film and make sure you rate, review, and comment on iTunes. And thanks for listening to the WODcast. See you next week.
Thanks, bud.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.